Good morning, class. Hi, it's Mr. Stewart, and this is going to be the Chapter 10 lecture for Security Risk Management, CRJ 171. I'm pleased to announce to you this morning that my back is much better, so I will be getting caught up with your grading and responding in the last couple of weeks of discussions. This week, it will probably take me most of the week to get that done, so no worries about it. And if anybody has any issues in regard to the test, anything that I need to respond to, then please make sure that you get in touch with me. Okay, today, Chapter 10, this is probably going to be a little bit longer lecture than it was last week, because we've got a little bit more to talk about this week. This chapter is entitled Security Measures, Physical Security. And just understand that there are multiple components to a comprehensive security system and security structure for any facility. We not only have to protect the people, we have to have policies and procedures, but we also have to have certain things in place physically to deter, prevent attacks of any type, whether it be attacks from electronic means, physical attacks on the actual structure itself, etc. So just understand that none of these things can really stand alone. You have to have multiple facets in any type of security system in order for it to be 100% effective. And honestly, there's nothing that is 100% effective, but we can definitely approach 100% effectiveness if we secure every single thing that we can possibly secure. So physical security countermeasures are the third part of the overall security system in conjunction with policies, procedures, and personnel. Now there's a quote by Francis Bacon in your text that I wanted to give you for just a minute, and it says, "He that will not apply new remedies must expect new evils, for time is the greatest innovator." And what I would like for you to take from that quote is the fact that don't have obsolete and outdated and non-updated security policies, procedures, security for your personnel, or physical security. There's things that were effective in 1950 that are just not effective any longer, even from the physical standpoint. So as people innovate and figure out new ways to attack and new ways to find chinks in your armor, if you will, then you have to also innovate your security system to bring it up to whatever the current expectation is, whatever the current level of knowledge, the current level of innovation. And guys, the criminals are getting smarter. Security has to get smarter right along with them. So physical security needs should be based upon asset ID, threat assessment, and vulnerability assessment. All of these things that we've already talked about, and you should all have a good working knowledge of what those things are at this point in the course. So the object of physical security is to detect threats, deter attacks, and respond to any threat that may happen. Because, again, you cannot prevent every single thing. There's some things that you're just going to have to respond to in a reactive manner. You can't be proactive in everything. But even those things that you can't stop, that you cannot prevent, you can be more prepared for them if you have current and effective security policies and procedures, current personnel security, and also current physical security. So let's talk about some of the types of physical security countermeasures that are out there. Some of the things that we can employ physically within our location that can detect, deter, or help us respond. One of the first things is electronic burglary systems or alarms. Now, burglar alarms have been around for a long time, actually since the mid to late 1800s. In fact, originally burglar alarms were wired directly to bells or some type of alarm system that was actually at the local police department. So when a certain bell went off, that meant that somebody was breaking in one of the particular buildings, and it was labeled, and then that would tell the police which building to go to in order to try to catch the robbers. Or the burglars, so to speak. So just realize that this is old technology, but it is still fairly effective. I mean, statistics show that even from talking about residential security, if you have a burglar alarm sign on your door or in your yard, you're least likely to experience an actual burglary than if you didn't have a sign and still had an alarm system. You actually don't even have to have the alarm system these days in order to deter the would-be burglars, because again, they're going to pick the houses that they know are easier targets. And if you've got a sign in your yard saying, hey, you have a security system, then they're probably not going to mess with it. That doesn't always hold true, again, because nothing is 100%. But just understand that they're going to look for the easier targets, the one that when they perform a cost-benefit analysis, the ones that are least likely to get them caught and also give them the most rewards. So burglar alarms, old technology, still fairly effective. Most commercial applications, they do actually have alarm systems. They are monitored by a security company. Most of the time the police don't actually monitor these any longer. And so if the alarm is tripped in some shape, form, or fashion, then the security company then calls the appropriate law enforcement agency or security agency to respond to whatever the issue is. And now most of them are even also wired in for glass breakage detectors, for heat, smoke detection, fire detection. Even in some more technologically advanced businesses or manufacturing facilities, they may even have, even just if there's a problem with the temperature, somebody will get called and they'll have to go check it, because there's certain pieces of equipment that must be maintained at certain temperatures, and if it gets too hot or too cold, then those pieces of equipment may fail, and if those pieces of equipment fail, then you're going to suffer losses. So what are a lot of the components that come along with electronic burglary systems or alarms? Well, first of all, control panels and keypads. You know, back in the old days, it was simply flipping a switch, a hidden switch somewhere to turn it on. Now it's there's a keypad. Usually, that's probably one of the most common ways to activate one of these systems is a control panel or a keypad, maybe on the interior, exterior of the door. They usually have timers on them so that you could actually get the door open, go into the facility, and have a minute or two or less in order to enter the proper code before it actually notifies the security company. Also understand that most of the burglar alarm systems now also maintain a log of what code was used, and sometimes they will assign different codes to different people so that they know what person uses what code to get in. I actually worked a commercial burglary of an electronics manufacturing facility where a large amount of copper was stolen several years ago when I was a police officer. And we know that the person made entry into a door with a key, because there was no forced entrance into the facility. We also know that they turned off the alarm system using a code that was only given to management. And after checking the whereabouts of all the management who were employed at the time, we found out that there was an assistant plant manager who had been fired because he was laying out sick a lot, and they had not bothered to change the code. And apparently he had a copy of the key, and they had not changed the code, so he came in, used the copied key to open the door, turned off the alarm system, had plenty of time to back his truck around to one of the loading bays, used an actual tow motor, loaded a 1,500-pound roll of copper wire onto a trailer, covered it up, closed the door, went back around, turned the alarm system back on, locked the door, and left. And when the plant opened up the next morning, they found that the copper they had scheduled to run the manufacturing with that day was missing. They went back, called the alarm system company. The alarm company said, oh, it was this code that was used. And so they called the police. We responded. We were able to determine who the likely suspect was, got a subpoena for their bank account, found that they had made a large deposit, caught the guy, questioned him, told us where he'd sold the copper. We were not able to recover the copper, but he went to jail for that theft. And that was a felony theft. So that just shows you the importance of one little component of an alarm system is just the keypad, because it maintains a log. What are the other components of alarm systems? Well, you have door and window contacts that lets the system know if a window is opened or a door is opened. There are glass breakage detectors that actually pick up on the sound waves that are generated when glass is broken, and that will trip the alarm. Motion sensors, if something moves within the purview or view of the sensor, it can trip the alarm. Those are sometimes a little finicky. They've gotten better in the last several years, because you can have a rat, some sort of animal, get into the facility. Sometimes spider webs and spiders build in the sensors, and the spider moves and can actually trip the sensor. And we've had lots of false calls when I was working security and in law enforcement for facilities, just because a motion sensor alarm went off, and we get there and there's absolutely nothing there. No evidence of anybody doing anything they're not supposed to. Spot or object detectors, some of those are pretty highly advanced. It can actually see if it monitors one single spot and will tell you if temperature changes, infrared changes, motion, you name it. And also lots of other miscellaneous detectors that can be pretty well customized for whatever the facility is and what they need it to do. So those are kind of the most typical components of electronic burglary alarm systems. Closed caption TV systems is another type of physical security countermeasure, and in the old days it was just simply what we called surveillance cameras. If you look around Calhoun, we have lots of surveillance cameras, and if you stop by the security office, you can see the monitor. And I'm talking about on the Huntsville campus. You can see the monitor where the campus police watch those security cameras. That is recorded on a digital loop. So anything that happens within a certain amount of time, we can always go back and get and save that piece of video. Understand that as technology has increased, the cameras, the lenses, the housing options for what the cameras are in, we have lots and lots of options for those. I mean, used to, the cameras had to be hardwired, both with power and with a coaxial cable into some sort of recording device. Now that's all gone digital and wireless. We can transmit that digitally now. If you have a Wi-Fi system, the camera can be hooked up directly to the Wi-Fi, and it can just transmit electronically to a server, and it's all recorded digitally. You have different types of monitors. In fact, when I was a police officer, we had a couple local gas stations that were not open 24 hours a day, and the owner of the gas stations, they actually had installed wireless closed caption TV systems, camera systems, surveillance camera systems, and they were uploaded to a website. They gave me the login information for the website. I could sit at home on my laptop computer and monitor that the gas station surveillance cameras, or I could be on one end of town in my patrol car and on my laptop computer be monitoring the surveillance cameras at both the gas stations simultaneously, just to see, you know, and I actually caught people doing things because the camera saw the car pull up, and I happened to be watching it at the time, and so I just drove straight up there and caught people doing things they shouldn't have been trying to do. There's also lots of recording options. They can be recorded to they can still be recorded to tape. I guess the cheaper systems that are out there now are the ones that record to a VHS tape and a VCR. The more higher end systems will upload to a server where you don't have to worry about or cloud-based recording, so you don't have to worry about maintaining the actual recording yourself. The service that you pay for actually maintains that. Probably one of the more common options now is a digital, where it's uploaded directly into a overridable digital loop, and it will maintain that footage that it's recorded for however long you set it to maintain, and then it will automatically record over that and re-record and re-record and re-record over that, unless you actually save out a piece of that footage to keep that you may need for evidential purposes. So there's lots of recording options available. IP video, Internet Protocol video. We used to have kind of old technology now is VoIP, Voice over Internet Protocol. Campus phones and phone systems in many facilities now have been VoIP systems for several years. And in the surveillance industry, the security industry, we've started doing video over IP now, and that's also become kind of the industry standard. And there's also intelligent video out there that it's very discriminatory in what it will record. Maybe motion sensors where we're not actually recording something unless we detect motion or some other temperature or infrared sensor has tripped, so that we know that something is not like it's supposed to be. Make sure you please read this section in your text very, very closely, because there's quite a bit of information on the CCTV systems, and it's actually pretty interesting when you look in just to see what all we can actually do with those systems at this point. Another countermeasure for physical security is electronic access control systems. And used to, you had to have somebody who would arrive at a facility at a certain time, open up certain doors to allow access to certain people, and then other people, when they would get there, were supposed to open up other doors, and it was all done with the old keys. That's good news for locksmiths. However, I guess the more current method is to use electronic access control, where we use electronic locks. One of the better examples of this is hotels. Most hotels used to have an actual key that when you rented a room, they gave you a key, and when you checked out, you either left the key there or you turned it in at the front desk. And honestly, there was a lot of key theft, and the problem is that most of those hotels did not change the locks. So there were probably hundreds, if not thousands, of keys that people had that would go to different hotel rooms all across the country, and it became a security issue. So many hotels went to the card key reading device, or even the proximity type device that reads a card or an RFID chip on a card, and those are programmable with a different code every time that room is rented. So it doesn't matter if you take that card with you or not, and in fact I always take them with me because most people don't know this, but whoever checks into the hotel, they put your personal information on the magnetic strip when they put the door unlock information on that card. So if somebody had a card reader, they could pull some of your personal information off of it. So I always take the cards. Plus, because I'm a locksmith, they also are pretty good door unlocking devices for shimming locks. You'd be surprised what you can open with a small, flexible piece of plastic. But those are standalone devices to a certain degree. They are hooked into a system where they are programmed. Some of the more higher end hotels actually program each lock via the computer, and then they store the new code on the card that they give you. Some of the others just have a set of reusable codes that, as long as that code is used, that door will unlock, that are programmed into a chip in each door, basically from the factory. So that's still a little bit of a security issue, because if I guess you could have a collection of those cards, and it would the chance it would open some door at some hotel somewhere is fairly high. So card readers, different locking devices, egress devices are not necessarily an electronic access, other than the fact that they are wired into alarm systems. And what an egress device is, you may have seen what they call a panic bar on glass doors. The little lever that you push down in order to get out, that you don't have to push it with your hands, you can push it with your body or your rear end or whatever package you're carrying. That's called an egress device. Many hotel doors have those on them. Sometimes it's just a bar that pushes in. Sometimes it's an actual lever that's pushed. Those work really well to get out of a location. The only problem with getting back in is you either have to have a key or a code, depending upon how they've got the lock set up. Many of the door hardware that we install on exterior doors and facilities nowadays is very high security. We have different types of locks where it takes different types of pins, make the locks really hard to pick. Turnstiles are also used as security devices. Of course, people can hop those, but I mean, if you've ever been to a larger city that has a subway, you probably have to go through a turnstile, and the way you get access through the turnstile is with your subway card that you've paid for. Stick it in, and it stamps it when you get off the train. To get out, you have to stamp it. It stamps it again, and it reads it, and it takes off whatever money that you put on the card, so it knows where you've been, where you're going, type of thing. Another type of countermeasure for physical security is perimeter security systems. These can either be high-tech or low-tech. Some of the more low-tech things are simply putting up fences and gates. High fences can keep most things out. That doesn't mean that you can't cut the fence. Of course you can. You can't climb the fence. Sometimes you can. Now, some more higher-tech options for that is electrifying the fence. Although those are defeatable as well. When I lived in Colorado, we had an escape from the local prison. We had, in fact, the largest state prison in the state was in the town where I lived, and they had an escape from there, and they had what they call a stun kill fence and electronic fence. You touched it the first time, it was like getting tased. If you touched it again, it kept zapping you until you were a crispy critter. So it would stun you the first time, and if you touched it the second time within a certain amount of time, then it would kill you. There was a guy figured out a way to defeat that and got through it and escaped. He was caught about 4 days later when he had gotten cornered and had taken a lady hostage. But the situation ended successfully and peacefully, and we didn't have to have any bloodshed, and nobody got hurt there. So fencing is a low-tech solution. It's still fairly effective, although it can be defeated. Having electronic gate operation is also fairly low-tech and older technology, but also still fairly effective. Where you have a code or a key in order to get into a location. Many people see these in gated residential areas or apartment buildings where you have to have a code to get into the gate, although that gate will stay open for a certain amount of time. And the pizza guy goes in, you give the pizza guy your code, or he gets buzzed in by somebody, you can always follow the pizza guy in. So they're not undefeatable, but it simply puts a roadblock up against attack. Bollards that's a fancy name for those big concrete or metal posts that stick up that keep you from hitting something, like you see them around gas pumps. If you look, go in front of a Target store. Target has the big red ball-looking bollards that will keep a vehicle from being able, supposedly to keep a vehicle from being able to drive through those big glass doors on the front. So it's a fairly effective security measure. It keeps somebody from ramming a building with a large vehicle, and they will pretty well hold up to most anything you throw at them, unless it's going really fast and it's really heavy. I mean, they probably would not stop a locomotive, but most light vehicles they will stop. If you look out in front of the entrance to Calhoun College on the Huntsville campus, we have yellow bollards that stick up to keep a vehicle from running up on the steps. Interestingly enough, though, those have a lock on them, and they can be removed if need be in order to get a vehicle up there close to the steps to unload or something. Locks are also considered perimeter security devices, and locks have been around for many years. They have become more highly technologically advanced in recent years than they ever have been. But my philosophy is, if a man can make it, a man can break it. So understand that nothing is 100% effective, but good locks, bollards, good fences, and lots of light around your facility are all perimeter security countermeasures that when used with each other, they work very well. just understand that none of these things are 100% effective as a standalone thing. You need to combine all of these countermeasures, or many of these countermeasures, together to enhance your physical security. Lighting is something that's actually pretty easy to do, but it's one of the more overlooked physical security countermeasures. As many people don't even think about having dark spots in their perimeter. But that's why you see many manufacturing facilities that are not open 24 hours a day have lights that shine on the building, and that's so if somebody's passing by, they can see if somebody is near the building because there's lights around it. Pretty low tech, still fairly effective though. I mean, because burglars don't want to get caught. They don't want to get caught. They're going to go somewhere where they can hide in the shadows. Other perimeter security systems or physical security countermeasures are fire systems. Many manufacturing facilities now have automated fire systems that these are fire alarm systems as well as fire suppression systems. In order to, if a fire breaks out, it will extinguish that fire and get the fire department en route automatically. And then there's a lot of specialized protection systems. Understand that most of the physical security systems that are out there are infinitely customizable. You can, if you have the money to pay for it, you can add it any option you pretty well want to add to it to make it as secure or less secure as you want. Now, the key to physical security countermeasures is integration, and that means putting several of them together. No single countermeasure will ever be 100% effective. We can only approach higher levels of effectiveness when we integrate several countermeasures together. We must also be able to integrate the physical countermeasures with the policies and the personnel. They have to be user-friendly. They have to allow for the personnel that should be able to enter the facility in to allow the personnel that should be able to exit the facility out. And they should work with whatever the policies and procedures that you have in place are. And that makes a pretty effective physical security system when all of that works together. Physical security countermeasures products can be matched to the needs or the organization and the facility, but this needs to be done really carefully because you can spend a lot of money and still not be effectively secured because there's a hole in your security plan somewhere. Always do what I like to call a cost-benefit analysis to make sure that you get what you need at a price you can afford. I mean, buy as much as you need, but only buy as much as you need. And I also would say that you need to make sure that these systems are scalable, and that means that you can add to them and upgrade them. Don't go with a cheaper product now that if in 5 years you need to upgrade it, you have to scrap that system and go with a completely new or different system. Pay a little bit more now for a system that's scalable and upgradable as your needs may change. And so, in a nutshell, that is Chapter 10. Please read this chapter carefully because there's a lot of information in Chapter 10. There's a lot of specific physical countermeasures in Chapter 10, and you're going to need to be at least familiar with most of them, just because you're going to have to, if you do an assessment, somewhere, then you have to think about all the different things that you could put in place to increase or ratchet up the security plan and physical security system for that location. All right, guys, have a good week. I'll see you in discussions, and if you need me, reach out. Bye-bye.